Well, I do it legally. And there's a difference because weren't some of those Fed guys caught for insider trading?
Well, and that's the thing. Yes. I'm glad you brought that up, Robert. A number of Fed officials throughout the different Federal Reserves, there's 12 different sort of pieces of the whole Federal Reserve system in different states. There's a New York one, there's an Atlanta one, so forth. And some of them were caught, or they weren't caught. Actually, let me take that back. They resigned for personal reasons because it turned out that they had some questionable stock trades. Now, Powell, who runs the Federal Reserve, got reappointed to another term. So there is even in the Federal Reserve system, the people who aren't necessarily at the very top are the ones who sort of mea culpa resigned for personal reasons because of what they were doing in stock trading. And Robert, this is something that goes throughout Congress.
And that's what's happening to America. So that's why I have tremendous respect for Nomi, because she doesn't talk about it. She worked on Wall Street, she traveled the world, she knows how they play the game. And the game is rigged against the middle class and the poor. And the middle class is soft. I've never seen so many soft people in all my life. I've never seen students who complain if I say something that triggers them. I'm just shocked. So the point here is this: the reason I want to talk to people is it's not that I recommend real estate.
So investing in real estate makes a lot of sense. Investing in real, right? In a place you can live in, you can rent out if you need to, you can, sort of accumulate something physical is tremendously important. It's more than half of my portfolio, probably 60-70% of my assets are in real estate. And I think this is something where even if people can get a tiny foothold in. And I don't know what you think of this, but in the UK, for example, because things are so inflated and so high and young people can't afford to buy anything, they're actually pooling together like shares in apartments just to get their foot on the ladder. And I think that them just even getting in, if they can't afford an entire apartment, to get into the real estate ladder. You don't want to be living on the streets. Look, at the end of the day, even if it's small, even if it's shared, getting in there means that at least you'll have a home you own over your own head, or you'll expand and have 2 homes and rent 1 out, or you'll expand and have 20 homes and rent 19 out, whatever it is that you have a path.
For those of you, this is my concern, Nomi. If the stock market comes down and you guys are all young, it wipes out the old guys, the baby boomers. Because the stock market was only the game after 1974 when the 401k was invented. So we have a 60 million, baby boomers in America and throughout the world, because you see the world. If they raise their prices, all these RRSPs in Canada, superannuations in Australia, and 401ks and IRAs in America, they get toasted. And the way I see it, because I'm a pessimist, I'm a Marine pilot, the way I see it, my generation, boomers, they had the easiest of all generations. When Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, there was inflation at 71. The baby boomers got rich really easy. The stock market crashes. My generation, the boomers, they're homeless. They're going to move in with their kids. You have taken action. You have traveled the world. You're not an academic who sits in a classroom.
I've been to those favelas you talk about, Robert. In fact, during COVID, I was out in Brazil, really getting a sense for what was going on. I probably traveled more during COVID than most other people. I was in Colombia looking at District 13. There was all sorts of things, but to get that sense for what you're talking about, that gap, and how can people close that gap, right, for themselves? And that's through education, and that's through action. It's really just that simple. And now, not
now.
Yeah, just now.
Now. No,
right.
Don't wait.
Right.
Because I think you know it and I know it. And inflation makes me richer, thank God. It makes the middle class pay more taxes because they're the ones who pay the taxes. But the thing I'm concerned about is the gap between the poor and everybody else increases.
That's right.
But you better take education. And what's going to happen is if the stock market will crash, and many of the fat and dumb baby boomers of my generation will become poor. And that's the I hate to say it, I hate to be pessimistic, but I'd rather be prepared. Like if I tell you there's a tornado coming, you'd say, oh, he's just being a pessimist. Well, if a tornado's coming, you want
to prepare. Absolutely. Yeah. I agree with that. And basically utilize that money for real assets, real estate, investing in things like copper that build, and just different kinds of physical assets or physical metals or physical tangible items that people can use.
So if you think this is an ordinary time in history, wake up. Because that's why I recommend you sign up for coaching and learn about real estate. So, this is not an ordinary time. And the reason I trust and respect Nomi so much is because she takes action. She doesn't stand in a classroom.
Understanding money, no matter what your other choices are, right? No matter what else you do, no matter what else you decide to do, is really at the core in our world, and particularly where we're at today, of what's going to make you secure, financially. And so I look at it like there's a lot of issues out there, right? We could sit here and talk about any side of any issue forever. But what I like to do is get pragmatic. And what I like to do is explain to people how money's working, who's making it work for them, and how you can make it work for you. It's very, very simple. My experience digging into that and knowing about it and having experienced it from Wall Street to talking with everybody in Washington to being around the world to central banks, all of that is what allows me to dig into and explain that for people. But at the end of the day, to me, being pragmatic about money is what makes and can make people more secure. And learning how to use money. And I get, when people don't have money, the last thing you want to do, you don't have the patience, right, to learn about money sometimes because you're worried. You have real worries. Your food prices are at all-time highs, right? I mean, you're concerned, and that is legitimate. And so the last thing you want to do is sit there and spend time, making yourself read things or think about things that you can't eat, right? But it's so important. You basically have to step out of that mentality and understand money, learn about investments, learn about real estate, and help yourself.
Right. The reason I started this whole program saying that this is not an educational program. I'm speaking today. I want you guys to hire a coach so you have a better chance of success. And my family, oh my God. I have friends, outside my family. I know more than you because I have a real estate license. I said, well, how much real estate do you own? None, but I have a license. I'm a professional. I said, well, how much real estate do you own? None, but they're giving advice. He slapped my head until I was 35 years old. Slapped my head, not really slapped me, but said, hey, wake up. Wake up. Did you check this out? Did you check that out? Did you do this? Did you do that? So you're only as good as your teacher. So spend some money, hire a great coach, and you'll have a better chance of success. And the reason I love and respect Nomi so much is she is a woman of action. She's not just a teacher standing from a classroom.
The idea of having a coach and having one is money so well spent because you're basically leveraging off of someone else's experience. You're going to be able to take action. Like someone else has been in the war zone, right? They've gone through the ups and downs of buying and selling real estate. They're there to basically, it goes to, I used the word pragmatic before. It's like, would you rather, have someone who just has a license and doesn't buy and sell their own real estate, tell you things, or would you rather have someone who's bought and sold their own real estate? I mean, it's obvious, right?
Yeah.
And so that idea of having that expertise in a coach makes so much sense, whatever the outlay is, because it's only going to come back in spades, because you're going to get the benefit of someone else's experience and someone else's knowledge and someone else's work. And you're going to be able to leverage that.
I have great coaches.
Right.
Great coaches. And that's why the rich get richer. I don't pretend to know anything.
That's
anyway,
right.
Nomi, I have tremendous love and respect for you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We're in a day. My question is, how much longer can they keep playing this silly game? how much longer can the central banks keep practicing communism and nobody calls them on it?
That's a fantastic question. I think we're a couple years away from a real next crisis. I mean, and I think it'll happen during the election year. I think it'll be 2024. I think until then, they are playing this game. But at the end of the day, there is no, it's like in physics, right? A power can only stop if it's met by an opposing power or energy source or whatever that is. In central banking, there is no opposing power. And we are literally, I mean, there just isn't. If you can basically create double the amount of money you had, which was 4 trillion, a little less than 4 trillion, and now it's 9 trillion. So more than double your money by doing nothing. And there is no opposing power.
Right.
They can keep this going.
Right.
This is why it's so scary. They can continue to distort, and they continue to create more inequality and say they're doing it for the benefit of the real economy and for people, and they can keep going when they need to do that.
Right.
That's where we're at. I mean, I wish I could say there's going to be some end to that ability to distort the real economy from the markets, but there isn't. There simply isn't right now.
I think they passed a point of no return.
Yeah.
And for people that never study economics, a central communism is a command and control. It's basically like a dictatorship of the economy.
It is, and with a central bank, you're dictating the creation of money.
Correct.
And in a government, you might be dictating other things, the military, et cetera. But with central, it's very specific, and that's why it's so powerful and scary. What they can do without being elected, without having to basically show any form of transparency, without any limitation, is just to create money and not care and not have to be accountable for what happens to most of the people on this planet when they do that.
And if there's a stock market crash with the 401k, which was started in 1974, we're going to have millions of American or global baby boomers toast. They'll move in with their kids, or the kids will move in with them. And so when I say to you, the reason I say Rich Dad sponsors Rich Dad's coaching and Rich Dad's world is because please get educated. So please don't be as I'll take up coaching when I have money.
Right.
I would take up coaching now and find the money now, because that's what capitalists do.
No, I think that's our theme for today, Robert. Now.
It is. It
really is. It really is.
And I really thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
Please don't be like my family. Please don't be like them, because they have master's degrees and they have real estate licenses at the front. They're like my poor dad. Highly educated, poor people. Don't be one of them.